Welcome back to Unscripted, a calm take on the double standard. And I'm Jen, and I really didn't plan on this episode starting like this, but I just felt like sitting down and kind of talking through something that I've been noticing. And I know part of the reason I haven't recorded in a couple of weeks is because I didn't really feel connected to anything I wanted to say. Not because I didn't have anything to say, I just have not felt like myself. And lately, I've been noticing a shift in my mood and in my motivation. And I think a lot of that might be tied to hormones. If you didn't know, I'm on hormone replacement therapy. I have been for about 2.5 years now. And recently, my doctor increased my progesterone. And this is actually the second time I've tried a higher dose. And both times I've noticed something very similar, and it's not exactly sadness or depression. It's more like everything just feels a little flat. Like I'm not excited about anything. I'm not motivated. I don't feel like creating. I don't feel like posting. And that gets difficult when you are a content creator. And even the simple things feel harder than they normally would. And when I feel like that, I start questioning everything, like literally everything. What should I post? Do I even want to post? Does any of this even matter? And instead of forcing it, because I don't like to force things, I kind of just pulled back. So about, I don't know, a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, I don't remember how long it's been now, I decided to lower the dosage of my progesterone myself. And this is the second time. I have definitely noticed a pattern, and it's the second time that I decided to lower the dosage. So I went from 600 milligrams back down to 400. And my doctor is totally on board with noticing changes and me taking note of that. And we talk about it. So it's not something I'm doing without, I wouldn't say his permission, but at least him knowing and him saying it's okay to do. And ever since I decreased the dosage myself, I feel different. And it's not a dramatic difference, but it's enough that I noticed it. I definitely feel more present and more like myself. And I guess the best way to describe it is like more alive. And I don't know if that's the dosage or if it's just been a good couple of days. I don't think it's a coincidence, but what stood out to me is that how I didn't even realize how flat I had been feeling until I didn't feel that way for a day. So the second time around actually confirms it for me that in my hormone replacement journey, a higher dose of progesterone is just not for me, because that's happened before. I've tried a higher dose before, felt off, lowered it, and voila, I felt like myself again. So if it continues this way, then I know it's something very real for me. But right now I'm just kind of paying attention. And something else I noticed was that my health anxiety has been really quiet. And that is a very, very big deal for me. Health anxiety is something that I have struggled with for a couple of years now. And some days it's really, really, really bad for me. But the last 4 or 5 days has been better, because some days my mind can go into that place where I'm overthinking every little thing every little sensation, every little feeling inside of my body. And since I lowered the dosage, it just hasn't been there like it was before. So stick with me here. I'm going somewhere where I originally planned to go. But again, I don't know if it's connected, but it did make me realize how much that affects everything else, like a lot of other things, because when my baseline feels off, my anxiety gets louder. And when I feel more like myself, it quiets down. And I think that ties into something bigger, especially as a content creator. You know, we talk a lot about discipline and consistency and showing up no matter what, because as a content creator, if you want to grow, you absolutely do. You have to show up and you have to be consistent. That is one of the biggest things, biggest pieces of advice I could ever give someone who wanted to get into content creating is you have to show up. You have to be consistent. No matter what. But I don't think we talk enough about capacity, because sometimes it's not that you're lazy. Sometimes it's not that you've lost motivation. Sometimes your body is just in a different place, and forcing yourself to show up the same way you always do just doesn't always make sense. And I think when you're already not feeling like yourself, that's when outside opinions start to feel much, much louder. And I've seen comments, I've seen it on my page and other women's pages too, that, you know, this idea that at a certain age, women are we're just supposed to stop posting certain things, definitely stop showing our bodies, stop being visible. Like there's this quiet expiration date. And I don't really think it's about age. I think it's about who people are comfortable seeing. And I think a lot of us were taught in ways to be agreeable, to be nice, not too loud, not too much. At least I was. And then when you step outside of that, even just a little bit, it can feel uncomfortable. And not just for other people, but sometimes for you too. And I think if you don't have a strong sense of yourself, that you can end up like constantly scanning the room, even online in comment sections. Like, am I too much? Is this okay to post? Do people like me? And the list goes on and on. Especially if you're an overthinker like myself, you ask all these questions and then some. And I realized that the real work is developing kind of your own internal compass, like something you can come back to when someone criticizes you or when you start doubting yourself, because otherwise it's really, really easy to just shrink and fall off and go away. Like that is the easiest thing to do. And then you start editing yourself, fixing yourself to fit what you think people are comfortable with. And instead of immediately choosing that, instead of immediately doing that, I've been trying to just sit for a second and ask, because not only do I like to analyze other people, I like to self-analyze myself too. And I like to ask myself, is there something that I can learn from this? Like what is it? what is there for me to learn from this situation? Or is this just coming from someone else's perspective from their own stuff? Everybody's got their own stuff going on in their life. Because if you can't tell the difference, you can spend a lot of time shaping yourself around other people's limitations, shaping yourself the way other people think you should be. And honestly, social media has kind of been a training ground for me a little bit. It's definitely forced me to let go of some of that people pleasing, because I am a 100% former people pleaser. So it's forced me to let go of that a lot and to stop chasing approval of other people all the time, and to just stand in who I am a little more. And I can say that I actually like the person I've become. That doesn't mean that there's not room to grow and room for improvement, but I feel more settled in myself. And I am absolutely okay with the fact that not everyone is going to like me. One of my favorite sweatshirts is it's a beige sweatshirt with red writing, "I'm not for everyone." And that is one of my favorite shirts. But here's the thing. What's interesting is when something is off internally, like it has been for me for quite some time, like when my hormones feel off and I don't quite feel like myself, that's when all of that gets a little shaky. That's when it's harder to believe all those things about myself, that internal steadiness that I work so hard to grow. It doesn't feel as solid. And then I notice I start questioning things more and second guessing myself more. So it's not just about confidence. It's also about how you feel in your own body. And I saw a video the other day that really stuck with me. It was an older woman talking about this idea of being, quote unquote, too old to post certain things. And like I said, that is a comment that I see all the time in my comment section and in other women's comment section. And she said, in a nutshell, why are we so worried about being too old to post on social media when the more important things we should be thinking about is whether we can still move, whether we can still take care of ourselves, whether we can still live independently. Because that is what is very important for me. And that kind of shifted something for me, because she's right. If I can still move my body, if I can still take care of myself, if I can still show up in my own life, then maybe posting a video shouldn't feel like something I need permission for. And maybe this whole thing isn't really about hormones or age or even posting. Maybe it's about how quickly we start questioning ourselves when something shifts internally. So right now, I am not trying to force anything. I'm not trying to have all the answers, because that's kind of tough for me too. I think because I am so independent, I also like to have all the answers, and I like to have them right now. And it bugs me sometimes that I don't have all the answers right now. So I have to force myself to sit and just kind of let things be quiet until I can just slow my mind down and just pay attention. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just paying attention. And I think that's important for all of us to do, is pay attention to what is going on inside of you. whether you think it's right or wrong, just accepting and paying attention to what's going on and showing up in a way that feels like me. Not forcing it, but just showing up the way that I feel comfortable showing up, the way that feels like myself. And I think that's enough. And that is it for this episode. I hope something here resonated with you. I know the men listening, maybe you're not going to resonate with the hormone part, but maybe you have a female in your life that's going through hormonal changes, and maybe you can just, I don't know, feel like maybe you should take a little time to understand what could be going on with that person and give some grace and some patience, because as we all definitely need a little more patience. But that's it for today. I will see you guys back in 2 weeks is the plan. Every episode is bi-weekly. So appreciate you guys coming back and listening today. And next episode, I'm going to be talking about the fatherless stigma. Why does fatherless get used as an insult toward the woman? I will see you guys then.